40-yard line. It is 4 p.m. Eastern on our new time slot through the rest of the playoffs, Wednesday afternoon. 8 teams remain. 8 teams are left on the road to the Super Bowl, and I'm joined by my guys, Donnie, RightSide, and the Whale Capper to break down these games. Man, do we have some nice matchups. Some great cappers in the chat. Moses Saucedo joining us. We have the Reaver in the house, Sean Mick. Let's get to work. Donnie, RightSide, Wednesday afternoon. How you doing today, my man?
Doing good. Looking forward to maybe the best weekend of football in the year. We also have, obviously, the College Football Championship on Monday. But these 2 Saturday and Sunday games should be a lot of fun. The big boys come out to play. And we'll do it again. Let's see what we can uncover and have some fun here, Jimmy.
Let's do exactly that. Moses Saucedo asking me if they did get the AC working. They did. It feels great in here. And I'm ready to get to work. Whale Capper, my man, you are coming off another successful week of NFL. 3-1 on your wild card action. How are you doing today?
Dude, it could not be better. Wild card weekend was a ton of fun. We got those pretenders out of the way, the Patriots, the Eagles, the Saints, goodbye. Now we get to see the contenders play. Let's get cracking on this.
Scott Newman joining us says, hope the Ravens humiliate the Titans. We got RB Fern in the house, Prince of the City, Dan Kelly. We have a great group. The team is coming together. 2 games on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday. And we start with Vikings Niners. Wow, with the Saints being eliminated, the road to the Super Bowl has become much clearer for these Niners. Let's take a look at the best odds page on the planet. Sportsbookreview.com odds page. San Francisco opens up at Pinnacle -6.5 and -112. Money coming in on the Niners. Now 7s across the board. This total opens up at 45. Now we have 44. 44s across the board, except for at Intertops, where we have a 44.5. We got the game 20 in our chat. Vikings 4-4 on the road through the regular season, and they pick up a big road win against a winning team, something they did not do all year. Going up against these Niners, 56 Fahrenheit Saturday afternoon in Saturday afternoon in Santa Clara. 56 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, but 16-mile-per-hour winds is what we are dealing with. And the Niners get pieces back. D Ford expected to play. Quan Alexander. And then don't forget Tart at safety. 4th-round pick in 2015 has become a very important piece of this Niners squad. You got DeForest Buckner. You got Ford now. You have Bosa. This is a healthy group ready to get to work. Mike Hughes for the Vikings cornerback placed on injured reserve prior to the wild card game. They lost Mackenzie Alexander during the wild card game, but Dalvin Cook looks healthy. Adam Thielen was amazing. Donnie, RightSide, do the Vikings have another upset in them?
I don't think they have another upset in them. And I got to tell you, if you're San Francisco sitting back, because last week in the wild card rounds, I'm saying you can't pick 2 teams out better for the 49ers to absolutely dismantle than the Philadelphia Eagles and the Seattle Seahawks. 2 teams with terrible offensive lines, rested and ready 49ers, going to get them on a short week. And then all of a sudden Minnesota comes out of nowhere and knocks off the New Orleans Saints. And they played well. And they did everything you needed to do. Sit back in coverage, rush 4 guys, let your playmakers take over. And again, Drew Brees not be able to push the football down the field really came into play. That was an overtime game. But now you got the Minnesota Vikings coming in on an extremely short week again and heading out west to play the rested and ready San Francisco 49ers. Before I get into a lot of notes here, this is a really good football game, but there's a lot of key components with the 49ers should be able to exploit in this game. Look, I said it all along before I even start getting over the notes there. San Francisco is my favorite team to get to the Super Bowl in the NFC. That's not going to stop here, Jimmy.
I do not see it stopping here either. RB Friend giving us some stats from the chat says 49ers started the season 8-0. In all 8 games, they had 30-plus rushing attempts. Since 5-3 with no games over 30 attempts. Also, San Francisco 0-6-1 against the spread when favored by 6 or more this season. And that 0-6-1 against the spread when favored by 6 or more this season doesn't concern me. Although, something happens when an underdog wins a big road game to start the playoffs off. They start believing. They start believing in each other. And that's a dangerous thing. And the Vikings have become a dangerous squad. Whale Capper, Vikings Niners, have you made a move?
I have laid the points with the Niners. I know it's a little uneasy feeling whenever you're laying a touchdown with a quarterback who has never made a playoff start in his career to this point. Jimmy G will get, will pop his cherry on Saturday afternoon against a reasonable, difficult opponent. I guess I would say that this was not the best outcome for the Niners, hosting the Vikings, but it was big for the Niners, Super Bowl hopes in that the Saints got eliminated, because I was not feeling great about the potential of the Saints and the Niners in a second head-to-head after everything the Niners had to leave out on the field to get the win against them last time. In this matchup, though, I think there are a lot of positives you can point to for the Niners. You pointed out right in the open, they have outstanding depth at the defensive line position. They're getting quite a lot of help back, and that was kind of the distinguishing characteristic about their defense between the first 8 weeks of the season when they were world beaters and the second 8 weeks of the season when they had a much tougher schedule and their defense, gave up some serious points. Like, the big difference between those two parts of the season for them is that they just were lacking a little bit of depth on their D line. They weren't as able to get fresh legs in there, get the rotations, get their guy, get their horses, in there. And now with a healthy unit, they are going up against an offensive line that gives up pressure. They're going up against a quarterback who wilts under pressure. And I think this sets up well for the San Francisco, defense to have a nice day on Saturday. But even more than that, what really gets me fired up about this game is you have a Niners offensive genius in Kyle Shanahan, who is crafting a specific game plan to take advantage of a defense with Mike Zimmer that is basically, they have one look. They give you one look, and then they have a very difficult time making adjustments and really kind of, figuring out a better way to defend you. And as you saw, even in that Saints game, you had a D effort from Drew Brees. He was unable to make a D pass to beat you. And still, the Saints were live all the way throughout that game. If they win the coin toss, I'm not 100% sure if we're not talking about the Saints in Green Bay instead of Seattle. And, but lo and behold, they lose the coin toss. They make a deep play to Thielen when there was a key injury, to Marshawn Lattimore on that play. And, the rest is history. They don't get the offensive PI call, and, the Minnesota gets the amazing upset, and it is what it is here. But the matchup of Shanahan versus the Zimmer defense, I think, is pretty critical, because we knew going into that game, Saints-Vikings, that, the Vikings defense was beatable. You can score points on this team. You can hit them with the deep ball. The problem is Drew Brees did not have the arm strength. He did not have the accuracy deep down the field to make it happen. Weirdly, Taysom Hill did, but they didn't use him quite as much as they ought to have, apparently. But Jimmy Garoppolo can make those passes. If they have a fully healthy, deep, offensive line, they're going to be able to neutralize the monster pass rush that's coming right now from Danielle Hunter. Give Jimmy Garoppolo time to pick apart the Vikings defense down the field, and I think the Niners pretty much pick their number here. I see them scoring between 28 and 35 points, and I think their defense can hold the Vikings under 20. So this is a lay the points with the Niners for me. And if we're getting a little frisky, if you want to get a little wild, I'll also take some over. I'll also take some Niners team total over, because I do think their offense is the distinguishing unit in this game.
Wow, I like it. Bullish on these Niners. Donnie, you set a nice table with that breakdown off the top. We now know that Whale Capper is believing in these Niners, believing in Shanny, who knows Cousins well from 2012 when Cousins broke in with the Skins. Our guy MJ, Michael Jordan in the house, says San Francisco wins by 2 scores. Robert Kahn says 49ers win by 6. RB Fern says still love the 49ers here. Let's get into those numbers you were speaking of, Donnie RightSide. Vikings, Niners.
Yeah, I mean, look, when you start off just with the basics here, the best thing you can get in football is rest, right? One team's sitting back waiting. One team went on the road and played their hearts out in the overtime, then flew back, then have to fly out west, and you're going to play on a Saturday in the early slot. So that already factors against you. Let's also take a look at what the Vikings like to do. They're a dome team, as we know, right? Dome games this year, Jimmy, that we're looking at. Let me just pull up the numbers real quick. 8-2 overall. When they play on natural surface, that's 1-3. They're built on speed. Dalvin Cook, Stephon Diggs, getting a good pass rush. Now you're going to go outside and get obviously on grass. Now, the key components of this game, if you look at what the San Francisco 49ers do really well on defense, they bury guys in the pocket. teams that have the ability, Russell Wilson, play him twice a year, as well as Kyler Murray, play him twice a year. Those teams give the Niners a little bit of problems because you can run read option and you can have the quarterback get out of the mayhem when they crush the pocket and then, in a sense, pick up yards downfield. In the 2 games that they played Arizona, Murray rushed for 34 yards and 67 yards, with Russell Wilson, Jimmy, 53 yards and 29 yards. And the other game that they lost on the road in an absolute quagmire rainstorm, 101 yards on the ground from the league's MVP, Lamar Jackson. So when we take a look at Kirk Cousins, he has 69 yards. No. Not 69 yards in the past couple weeks, first 8 games. 69 yards total rushing on the season. So when you take a look at a team that doesn't run with their quarterback, you can zero in on the running back that they have, obviously in Dalvin Cook, but you can also collapse the pocket. That feeds into it. If you look at these teams and take out those games with Kyler Murray and you take out those games with the rushing quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson, also with Seattle, they've averaged victory 31-17 against pocket quarterbacks. So if they know where you're standing as a quarterback, they're going to get after you. Now you say, all right, well, what happened in the Atlanta game down the stretch? Keep in mind, they only lost 3 games. They lost that football game, but also had 4 starters down in that game. Sherman didn't play, Tart didn't play, K'Wan Williams, and D Ford missed that game. You say, well, they lost by a touchdown. Well, I mean, some factors come into that on the last play of the game where they fumbled the ball into their own end zone to give up 6 points. And also, let's keep in mind, that's a game where Julio Jones absolutely went insane. 13 catches, 134 yards, and 2 touchdowns. You're not going to have that same type of production this week with any of the wide receivers from the Minnesota Vikings. And also, how about the nose of the football crossing over the goal line to win that football game? So if you take that game away, they probably should have won that one. The San Francisco 49ers are built to win this football game. And also, Whale Capper brought up the best play caller in football, Kyle Shanahan, has a full deck of cards on offense, and Robert Saleh, the defensive coordinator that's interviewing for head coaching jobs, a full deck on defense. This is the best team by far in the NFC. I'm not backing off now. They win by margin here.
They win by a margin here. Donnie, this total's gone from 45 to 44. 45 to 44. Do you agree with that market movement towards the under?
I actually starting to believe that. If you go to 5 Dimes right now, Jimmy, offshore, it's amazing because you look at the Minnesota offense. Ooh, Dalvin Cook, Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen. Look at what they can do. Kirk Cousins is hot. They just went on the road and won. It's 17.5 with plus juice, meaning the real number is 17 going on the road. That should tell you how well the 49ers should be able to get after it. I agree with the line movement going lower. I think it's up to San Francisco to carry the total if you go over. I don't see an offensive explosion. Let's also not forget today, both wide receivers. Diggs hasn't practiced yet this week for being an illness, and it's a short week. And Adam Thielen was just added to the injury report today after practice with an ankle injury. Good luck.
He was added to the injury report. What a game. He had 129 yards on 7 catches last week. Whale Capper, you like the Niners team total over. Does that mean that if you had a free play on the total, you would be going over this number of 44?
It does, and I don't 100% agree with the market move here. I would have expected this to go from 45, trickle up to 47. I think the fact that we had 4 unders come home last week, the fact that people are looking at the Niners as this defensive powerhouse and they're going to be the unit that dictates, I think that is depressing this price a little bit. I personally think this is an over game, and it is largely on the back of San Francisco getting into the 30s.
Well, I'm going to pull out this team total very quickly here at Bet365. See what we are dealing with each team. The Niners team total is at 26.5. 26.5, and that's juice to the over, minus 125 to the over. This Vikings team total is at 17.5, juiced heavily to the under. Heavily to the under. Minus 138 under 17.5. What do you think of that, Whale Capper?
I mean, obviously, that if you look at just what's happening with the market and the fact that San Francisco has trickled up from 6.5 to 7, and the totals come down, that's basically telling you people in the market wide think that the Niners defense is going to really keep this unit under wraps, or maybe just people knew that Thielen was banged up, they knew Diggs was sick, and they're counting on the Vikings struggling offensively in this game. But regardless, I think the Niners team total, I wouldn't lay the juice on over 26.5. I would sell up. I would look for a 27, even a 27.5 here. Honestly, I don't know what the Vikings are going to be able to do defensively to stop this unit. Their cornerback situation is dire. If you had even an average Drew Brees in that game in the Superdome, the Saints get to 30, and I think the Niners are primed primed for an offensive explosion. And I'm discounting the potential that they get a defensive touchdown. You know, there will be opportunities to strip sack Cousins, and Dalvin Cook is a little loose with the football sometimes. Thielen gave up a brutal fumble early in that game against the Saints. If the Niners can capitalize on a takeaway, create short fields, and give us their on average red zone efficiency from this season, then I think we get this team total home for the Niners.
Niners team total over 26.5 right now at Bet365. Whale Capper making a move on the Niners. Donnie, will you be getting to the window with the San Francisco 49ers?
I will. And the only reason I didn't send it over to you yet, Jimmy, is because I missed the 6.5 that was available early in the week. So it's at 7 right now. I'm not so sure it goes to 7.5 by the time the weekend's here. The only reason I haven't gone on it yet is because maybe we get that sliver of 6.5 that shows up at, I'm not talking about paying for it, expensive. A true 6.5, maybe minus 115 at the most. Then I would go ahead on it. But the 49ers are my team here. I'm going to be on them either way this weekend, Jimmy. I
love it. There is the first game on Saturday. Let's move on to Titans, Ravens, and wow, Whale Capper, Ravens won 12 straight games. What a spectacular call you made in the beginning of the year. The weather report out of Baltimore is wild, and Donnie and I have been talking about it all season. Warm weather in cold weather environments, places we expect for rain and snow. We're not getting it. I was in Toronto over Christmas. It was 8 degrees Celsius. It was shockingly warm. And it's going to be shockingly warm in Baltimore on Saturday night. Shockingly warm. 63 Fahrenheit. I can't even believe I'm saying that. But showers. Showers are supposed to start right around game time or about 15 to 20 minutes before game time, and windy. 14 miles per hour wind. That screams Derrick Henry to me. But what else do you have other than Derrick Henry when you talk about the Tennessee Titans? Ravens had the number 1 seed sewn up by week 16. They're rested, but then we have this Mark Ingram calf injury. Greg Roman says he's day-to-day. Harbaugh says he's on track and good to go. Who knows? Earl Thomas, knee injury. He's indicated that he's going to be good to go. Henry destroyed the Patriots. And the key against the Ravens is to keep Lamar off the field. Is that going to be possible? The Titans now don't have Jaylen Brown. I mean, the Titans don't have their Khalif Raymond to return kicks. The Titans, and they may get Khalif. He's in concussion protocol. Let's see what the SBR odds page is telling us. Baltimore opens up at -10. That's where they stand right now at Pinnacle, but that's a plus line. You get them there. 9.5 at a bunch of other books. Heritage has moved it to 9. This total's gone from 48 down to 47 at Bookmaker, 46.5 at a bunch of other books. Teddy Covers told us on our morning show today that he's waiting for it to see how low it'll go because he wants to go over this total. Donnie RightSide, take it away. Titans, Ravens, Saturday night.
Yeah, you want to check out the recency bias. And what I mean by that is, look, Tennessee's been a good football team all year. Tennessee was better than New England Patriots and picked up the victory, but Tennessee also had a completely different game plan that they're going to have to deploy against the Baltimore Ravens. Last week was, look at your quarterback back there. He's old as hell. He can't move around. And are you kidding me with these wide receivers? And who the hell are your running backs? Why don't we just keep punting from like the 36-yard line? Because your offense is so bad, we don't even have to score that many points to beat you. That's not going to be the case with the Baltimore Ravens. And I do know Mark Ingram coming into this game, he hasn't practiced all week yet, still has the calf injury. If I'm the Baltimore Ravens, honestly, I'm not even so sure I even want him suited up because there's a lot bigger fish to fry down the road where you're going to need him healthy. And it's amazing because he's been a key catalyst in that offense. But looking back at just last week, Lamar Jackson's going to be all over the pocket. They're going to scheme him almost like the way they did Josh Allen with the Buffalo Bills. He's going to get his 10 to 15 runs and maybe even 5 true running plays for him to try to make up for the missing running back in Mark Ingram. So even if he plays, Ingram probably, maybe 10 touches, if all that. But last week, now you have wide receivers, Brown and Snead and Roberts, guys that can beat you deep. Last week, N'Keal Harry's a flat-out bust. Mohamed Sanu embarrassed himself. A second-round pick for that guy. Julian Edelman was on one leg. You had nothing at tight end and nothing explosive. And as I said, that completely flips over. I'm just waiting to see where this number actually ends up. I like, obviously, the San Francisco game a lot more than this one. But even looking at total, I agree with Teddy. If these winds look like they're going to be 15 to 20 miles an hour, you're probably not going to want to jump on the total because that's going to affect the kicking game. But if we get get one of those where, I thought it was going to be windy, and now it's all of a sudden 5 miles an hour, because last week you had guys putting out, Jimmy, a snowstorm in New England when it was perfect conditions. But they're going to have to get after it today. So starting off this, I like the Baltimore side of it here, but I'm still waiting on that total as well.
Michael Ervalina joining us. Ravens first half team total over is easy, he says. Nico says, same formula, dog with the rushing game, plus 9 points. We got Gabriel Hernandez in the chat, says, I got a feeling Ravens Titans goes under. There will be a lot of running. Clock will be running all night long. Gerald Jones in the house, loving this Green Bay Seattle spot. We will talk about that shortly. We got Jeff Billings joining us as well. Nasty Nate in the house. David Stewart, Rob Elias, what a great group. Whale Capper, Titans, Ravens. Do you remain bullish on your Baltimore Ravens?
I mean, they look good to me. This is a good team, right? I mean, I think I'm finally coming around on the Ravens. I'm finally starting to see what everyone else is seeing. This team is legit, right? In seriousness, though, this is a beautiful spot for them. I got involved early in the week when it was at 8.5. It's at 9.5 at some shops now. I think that's still a fair play. My price on this game is Ravens minus 13. I have them, power rated on a neutral field. I have the Ravens as 9 points better than the Tennessee Titans in their current form. And a lot of that comes down to Tannehill is not showing us much at all from a quarterback standpoint. 75 yards passing last week was pathetic. I think that you give and everybody's been doing this. I did this. Like, you give Derrick Henry a ton of credit for the win over the Pats, but in reality, that was a tale of two halves. The Patriots let him go in the first half to a degree, and they made it their emphasis to stop Tannehill in the play-action game. And in the second half, they were like, well, Tannehill's got nothing. We need to adjust and take away, Henry now. And they used a couple of specific defensive looks, even though they don't have great personnel for it. They put the blueprint together. Hey, you want to stop Derrick Henry? This is how you do it. The Ravens are a smart organization. I think they break down that film and conclude the same thing. Like, okay, well, we'll do what the Patriots did to stop Tannehill in the play-action game. And if that is effective and Tannehill is off, then we can go and focus on Derrick Henry. And I don't think in any way you're worried here about Derrick Henry beating you if you're the Tennessee Titans, because when you have the ball on offense, the Tennessee Titans are not going to be able to do anything to stop you. I mean, honestly, you can run 10-minute drives if you feel like it. You can keep your defense on the sidelines, keep them fresh, keep them healthy. You're going to need them next week. Like, I really don't see how the Tennessee Titans can be competitive in this spot. I give the Ravens a full 4 points of home field advantage here, given that they're home with an extra week of time to prep here, and that stadium is going to be rocking. That is going to be an uncomfortable place to play if you're the Tennessee Titans. And if you're staring up at the scoreboard and it's 14-0 at some point in the first half, I don't know what you do to scheme yourself back into the game, because if you can take Derrick Henry out of the game either by scheming him out or by putting it, making the game state where he can't get the ball anymore. And either way, I think the Tennessee Titans come in, well under 20 points here. And the ceiling for the Ravens in terms of their output here is probably in the 30s. So, we've seen this team in primetime in big games this season just absolutely unload on stiffer competition than these Titans. And I think, laying the points here with the Ravens is not crazy. And this is probably going to be the least entertaining of the games that we see this weekend. They will not be surprising to me if this one is, you could put a bow on this one at halftime.
Jeff Billings agreeing with you, saying, I love the Ravens first half, full game, and team total over and the over. Let's talk about this total. Derrick Henry gained 138 of his rushing yards against the Pats after initial contact. What a monster. What a monster. Donnie, RightSide, this total now down to 46.5. What move would you make if you had a free play?
Well, wait, as long as we get some decent 15-mile-an-hour winds or under, I mean, I think it's going to be certainly an over game because Baltimore scores. That's just what they do. And I think the Titans, when they're going to be pushed, which they weren't pushed last week from New England, they're going to have to open up their passing game. But the one thing I also want to bring up is, Baltimore's going to have to carry that. If you look at the second half of the season, what Baltimore has done on defense, it's been outrageous. And I know a lot of people say, week 17, not many. I take this week 17 with Baltimore of how serious of an organization they are. The Steelers came in, their hated division rival, needing to win a football game to possibly make the playoffs. You played nothing but backups and waxed the Pittsburgh Steelers. Waxed them. 160 yards you gave up total when you played nothing but bench guys on your defense. That is absolutely incredible. This defense will slow down the Titans. And who is slowing down the Ravens at this point on offense? I just don't see it. And again, one team is rested and ready. You can almost look at the Titans going up into New England going, oh, yes, coach, comes home, wins. Whoo, deep breath, man. We did everything. And then you're going to start hearing this weekend as it comes in, house money, right? House money on the Titans. House money getting wasted in this game. Baltimore names their number on offense, and we'll see what the Tennessee Titans can do on their offense.
David Stewart says, Titans have been putting up points in every game. Rob Elias liking Titans with the points. Dexter OS says, Titans cover. Sorry. Titans cover. Sorry. Whale Capper, you are just on the Ravens at -9.5. Are you interested in a Ravens team total? Is there any moves you're making with this total?
So my range doesn't actually show a ton of value on the Ravens team total over, but I think that is, if you were going to give me any opportunity to swing away at a team total or a full game total, I'm looking for either first half over or Ravens team total over. There is a reasonable possibility that Lamar Jackson there's a reasonable possibility that Lamar Jackson, doesn't look like the MVP. He's only had one playoff start in his career. It didn't go well. The nerves may be there for him. And so for that reason, I can't necessarily get involved in team total over. Like I was saying, I think the Ravens defense can legitimately hold the Titans to something like 3 or 10 points. The Titans team total under is intriguing to me. But again, because you could end up with a game where, it's like 45-3 or something like that, or it could be 20-3. I think the clear and obvious best angle is still laying the points with the Ravens. But if I had to get involved in some total otherwise, I'm giving a serious consideration to Titans team total under.
That at Bet365 is the exact same number that the Vikings is at. It's at 17.5. The -138 towards the under. Ravens team total sitting at 28.5. And those -138s are not enjoyable if you think you need to hit 56.3% of your bets if you're dealing with -130s, and that's just to break even. Then you do not want to have a bunch of -138. So that would be a line shopping situation, which we do well here at Sportsbook Review. Shop for the best number. Those are your Saturday games. Donnie's already said that his favorite look on that Saturday games would be the Niners. Whale Capper, you're on both the Niners and the Ravens. What would you say your favorite look is on Saturday?
I'm going to go Ravens, but it's not a huge and obvious better bet.
Yeah, it's there. Dan Kelly says, after great games to watch last weekend, I'm afraid it's going to be all boring blowouts this week. Gas Station Suit says the only way to slow down the Ravens offense is to run a 7 defensive back set. RB Fern says you got to think those dogs are going to be spicy. Spicing up come championship weekend if the 49ers Ravens win handily on Saturday. Perfect Rotation says I personally think Titans are live. Let's move on to Sunday's action and we get to my Chiefs. I only call them my Chiefs because I now need them desperately. That's what's happened to my action. It's come down to me desperately needing the Chiefs. I got him plus 375 to win the conference, plus 800 to win the Super Bowl, and I need them here. Now, Flash made a futures bet on the Texans, and I decided to take a small stake in it. So it's not the end of the world. It is. I need the Chiefs. Let's just get over it. Let's talk about the odds right now. Chiefs open up at -8 at -107 at Pinnacle. They're now -10, but that's at plus 109. They are the only 10 on the board here of the main books that I use. Pinnacle 10 plus 109, 9.5 everywhere else. This total has gone from 49 up to 51. 49 up to 51. Akira saying Chiefs, Niners, Super Bowl. Texans Texans 5-3 on the road. What a tale of two different halves in that football game. They played in week 6. I remember that game very well because I had the Chiefs, and it was 17-3 Chiefs at halftime, and there were some issues then. Mahomes had the ankle injury. He no longer has it. Also, this Chiefs team did lose Juan Thornhill in the regular season finale, and that hurts badly. But the Honey Badger's been a beast all year. This defense has improved mightily as the season went on. And I know they played a lot of weak competition in the last 6 games. But over the last 6 games of the regular season, they allowed just 11.5 points per game. Spagnuolo went with that 4-3 base scheme, and it worked so well because of Thornhill. And God, the Thornhill injury hurts. Can the Texans cover Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce? Will the Texans get Will Fuller back? Do the Texans have a chance here, Donnie RightSide?
Texans do have a chance, but I don't think they're going to be able to pull off the victory in this one. They shouldn't have pulled off the victory last week versus the Buffalo Bills. They were getting dominated, and outside of a couple plays that Deshaun Watson showed some splashes, they came back and won that game. Questionable call at the end of the football game, which would have ended on their side. So now, again, we're taking a look, and the theme is here, you get the double-edged sword if you're these divisional opponents that actually won, because now you're playing a team that is better than you and is rested, and you're going on the road at the same time. They're hard to overcome, and that's why you're seeing these elevated lines, 7, 10s, and then we'll get to the other NFC game in just a little bit. But looking overall at this game, just to start it off, the Kansas City Chiefs are a markedly better football team than Houston. Their coach is markedly better than Bill O'Brien. I think last week you got one of those lucky games out of the way for the Houston Texans. A rested and ready team comes into this game, scheming and game planning against your defense. I think the only way to go in this game is Houston. Look, Deshaun can make some plays. This is one of those I might even look at where Kansas City and Andy Reid, one of the best scripted teams, and rested and ready. That first 10 to 15 plays are going to be remarkable. I think Kansas City builds a nice lead at the half, but then again, you get that Russell Wilson type guy in the second half that can make some plays and get you back into it. I like the first half here in the Kansas City Chiefs game, Jimmy.
Chiefs first half coming from Donnie RightSide. Whale Capper, Texans, Chiefs. Are you making a move?
Yes, I am. And actually, I hadn't really thought about first half, second half, and how this game state might play out. But Donnie's point is pretty strong and actually makes a ton of sense. I'm going to revisit that after we're done with the show. But my fair price on this for the full game is KC -9. So I saw it open under that, but not a huge edge, and then it blows right by me. It's up to 10 right now, but if you want to play Houston +10, the juice is outrageous. So I really can't find anything clear and obvious to look for on the sides here. But in the total, my fair price on this is 48, and it has steamed all the way up to 51. And there's a lot of numbers in there it could land on that I think are reasonable. 30 to 20 gives you 50. 28-21 gets you to 49. A lot of different combinations get you to 48. So I'm pretty happy here looking for under 51 in this game. And I don't really 100% understand the steam. It's pretty clear to me if I'm Bill O'Brien and I'm looking at what worked over the course of this season against the Kansas City defense in terms of how I'm crafting my offense, I'm going with a pretty run-heavy approach. I'm going to take what they'll give me in the running game, 3-4 yards a carry, and I'm going to let Deshaun Watson figure it out on fourth down here. I'm not going to try to beat them down the field. I'm not going to try to hit home runs against this team. I'm going to try to keep Pat Mahomes on the sidelines. That's my best chance of getting a win here. I don't think that Houston is coming into this game looking for a track meet. And so I think that in general, when Houston has the ball, the clock is just going to bleed out. And then on the flip side, we haven't really seen a dynamic offense from the Chiefs in a while. Like, they are for sure taking what what teams are giving them, as opposed to really asking Pat Mahomes to do it all and to hit these quick hitters. And when you think about the matchup with the Texans defense, like, what Pat Mahomes does the best is when he can break the pocket, he can moves out to his right, and in that scenario, he's looking for guys 30, 40 yards down the field, and he's going to deliver a dime. Right? Well, now when he rolls out to his right, he's got to deal with the likes of J.J. Watt going up against a pretty advantageous matchup. This doesn't necessarily set up well for Pat Mahomes to just put up just an unbelievable stat line, 350, 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. I think this is much more, turns into much more of a chess match here with Kansas City taking what is given to them. I think they do get the win. I have it coming in right around the number, so maybe we'll say it's something like 27-17, and this total just completely disrespecting what Kansas City has done defensively over the last half of this season. They have been a much improved unit to what we saw them start the season with. And I know that the loss of Thornhill is non-trivial, but going up against a team in the Texans that doesn't really do anything special offensively, I think that Kansas City can really keep them under, keep them down. And then it just turns into avoiding some garbage time points and getting this under home. So under 51 for me. This is probably my favorite look of the week, to be honest.
Under 51. And I apologize for not mentioning the weather. I did put it in the chat, but 35 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 9 miles per hour winds. That's what we're expecting on Sunday morning in Kansas City. Could be worse. Patrick Mahomes, pass yards, bet 365, 298.5 whale cap. Did you go over that?
I'm probably looking under that, to be honest with you. There's just not going to be a home run in this one, as far as I can tell you. I just am not seeing it. And, we saw Pat Mahomes, he had a fine performance in his first ever playoff game against the Colts last year. But in a lot of ways, I feel like this is a very similar game, and I feel like we're in line for a very similar game state. I don't know if while I'm talking, you can come up with how many yards he threw in that game, but off the top of my head, it was like 250, 275. I think he had 3 touchdowns and 1 pick. And overall, they won 31-13. They covered the number. There was never really in doubt for them. But it's still like I don't see this being this offensive explosion for Kansas City. We haven't seen that from them really over the whole last half of the season. And I know a lot of people will point and say it's because Mahomes was hurt and now he's fine. But to me, I think there is a little bit of a blueprint that is circulating around the league about how you limit Mahomes' ability to really stick a knife in you. And that is contain him, keep him in the pocket, make him beat you with the vanilla throws. Don't let him get your cornerbacks, on their heels. And, if I could be entirely wrong about this, Mahomes may just uncork, a couple of beautiful deep balls early in this game, and Houston can be hurt there for sure. Their secondary is not great. They've played better than their reputation. They've played better than their statistical profile. If you look at season average, lately they've been playing up relative to what would be expected. They've gotten some nice contributions from Roby. The guy they traded for from Oakland has played extremely well after thinking that guy was a total bust. I think they can do a decent job coverage-wise. And if you're Houston, you literally want this to be a grinded out type of game. Keep Mahomes on the sidelines, and we're gonna take our 3 yards, 4 yards every opportunity with Carlos Hyde and Duke Johnson in the running game, and really kind of turn this into a team with the ball last wins. That's their best opportunity of victory here. So I think there's a lot of incentive for both teams to really kind of lean on their defense and not try to turn this into a track meet.
Wow. Some great stuff also coming in from the chat, although I loved that breakdown there. Whale Capper. RB Fern saying Andy Reid, 17-3 off a bye in the regular season, 5-0 off a bye in the divisional round, 22-3 off a bye. That's a great stat.
Hey, what's even better? Andy Reid unders off a bye. Check those numbers out. They'll spin your hat. This is the 7th playoff game in Andy Reid's career where he's coming off of a bye. The previous 6 all went under. The average total in those games was 46, and he went under on average by 8 points. There's a kind of a misconception about what the bye means for Andy Reid because he's an offensive guy. People are like, you give him extra time to prepare, he comes up with the perfect surgical game plan to really hurt you. But in reality, it seems like his defenses play up off the bye for whatever reason. It could be health related. It could be, maybe he's spending some of his time in helping the defense kind of, give them a red team report on this is what the offense is going to do, and they perform up. But whatever the case is, the unders on Andy Reid off of a bye are much more impressive over the course of his career, even than his performance against the spread.
Wow, that's great stats. Donnie RightSide like in Chiefs first half. Whale Capper like in the under 51. Donnie RightSide, what do you think of Whale Capper going under this number that's moved up 2 points since its opener?
No, I actually agree with him here. And also what's kind of interesting is you bring up like the analytical approaches that you saw in the wild card weekend here. This is no longer 4th and 1 from the 50, automatic go for it. I mean, I always joked about, Houston punted from the 36-yard line on like 4th and 4. I mean, it's amazing to think that when you see the opening and the fluidity of the offenses during the first 17 weeks total of the regular season, and then you get into the playoffs and nobody cares about going for it anymore. It's punting, it's field position. That's going to take some points off the board. But this game will be dictated by Andy Reid's offense versus Houston's defense. I don't know where this notion comes from that Houston even has a decent defense. I think they're ranked 24th overall, according to ProFootballFocus.com, and absolutely have gotten detonated over the last month here. I mean, we're talking about a Buffalo offense that doesn't do much scoring or going 425 yards of offense and 5 scoring drives. You can't really take too much of that Tennessee game where the backups came in, but the backups gave like 470 yards. Tampa Bay, 106 yards on the ground, 329 in the air. Tennessee, 163 on the ground, 269 in the air. Denver with a rookie quarterback threw for over 300 yards. And the New England Patriots that we laugh at threw for over 300 yards and ran for over 145 yards versus that offense. That's all in just the last month. If the Kansas City Chiefs go in the hyperdrive, they can hang 30 very easily on this porous Houston defense. But I don't know if that's going to be the case in the playoffs because, again, these coaches, instead of going for it, are punting here in the playoff.
Moses Saucedo says Andy Reid winning his first Chiefs win the Super Bowl. Jay Peach, whom I love dearly, who's been with me since day one down here, says, Houston fan here, we don't have the strength to dictate how the game goes. O'Brien is a bum, and that will never change. David Stewart says, spot on, Donnie, Texans have been giving up points lately. All right, there you have it. Texans, Chiefs. And then we get to the Sunday nighter. Finally, some cold weather this year. We've seen, one game, Chiefs, Broncos, that had very cold weather, or at least snow. It wasn't even that cold. Seahawks, Packers, Sunday, and not even that late, right? Starting at 6:40 Eastern time. Let's move over. Sorry, I'm at first half. Let's go to full game spreads and totals here at sportsbookreview.com, the SBR odds page. If you guys want to do us a favor, if you're liking the content here that we are delivering, if you could hit the link at the bottom of the page, www.sbrvideo/the Audible, we would be very thankful. It takes you to the SBR Best Sports Books page, and it would mean a lot to us. We'd like to show SBR that we give them something. And that would be the key to showing them that. So if you could hit that link for us, we'd be very, very thankful. Here we go. Packers open up at -4. That's where they stand. Oh, by the way, for Donnie's first half look, Pinnacle giving the best line by far. -4.5, -111. There's some books giving 5, some books giving 5.5. Just one book handing out that 4.5. If you're liking what Donnie's talking about with that Chiefs first half. Seahawks, Packers, 4s across the board. There is a 5 at 5 dimes, -5 at +103. This total opened up at 46. It's at 47 at most books. Pinnacle's taking it at 47.5. 5 dimes is at 48. 22 Fahrenheit in Green Bay on Sunday at 6 o'clock. Mostly cloudy, just 3 miles per hour of wind. These Seahawks are now 8-1 on the road. The Packers are 7-1 at home, and it's still unclear whether Dwayne Brown will be in the lineup for the Seahawks, but these Packers are getting healthy. They're getting healthy fast. Bulaga looks like he's good to go. Lindsley, good to go. They're both came back to practice. So did Billy Turner. So we're talking about 3 very important pieces of your offensive line, healthy, fresh, and ready to go. The Seahawks were very underwhelming last week. And there's reasons you can explain why Pete Carroll was so underwhelming. He knew that the Eagles couldn't put up touchdowns against them. Was there any reason to risk or really go for big plays? There wasn't. And they showed very little. Lynch and Homer looked bad. They combined for 17 rushes for 19 yards. It was all DK Metcalf all the time. Seahawks had 7 sacks last week, and that came out of nowhere. This was a team that wasn't getting any pass rush whatsoever. 7 sacks last week. They also, going up against a quarterback that had no mobility whatsoever and couldn't get away from the pressure. Aaron Jones was spectacular this year. And when he ran for big yards, they won games. In their 3 losses, he was held to an average of 42 yards. Donnie RightSide, the final game on Sunday. Seahawks, Packers.
You're getting the best player, pound for pound in the NFL in Russell Wilson, and you're giving him some points. So right off the bat, you say, boy, where do I sign up? And then you try to take a look at the Green Bay Packers, and we're saying, like, this might be one of the worst 13-3 teams that we ever seen in the NFL. It's crazy. We're talking about the worst 13-3 this team is, and we're trying to poke holes, which you can do. It's going to be cold weather, which benefits Green Bay probably a little bit here. And also you're talking about, again, a rested team versus a team that had to play the week before. But I got to tell you, each week, my love, I guess you could say, of Russell Wilson continues to increase. He has one really good wide receiver right now. That is a rookie. He has no tight end, an abysmal offensive line. Marshawn Lynch is a walking joke right now that should be in a wheelchair, averaging 1 yard per carry. But we get fired up because it's fun, because he has one run for like 4 yards and he runs somebody over. They give you nothing out of that. So now you're taking a look at Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers, wide receivers getting healthy again. They have a good running back core. You have a decent offensive line. You should go out and win this football game. So again, I play into it. Last week I actually had a play on the Philadelphia Eagles in the first half, getting a half of a point, which went up in smoke when, obviously Carson Wentz goes down. And then Russell Wilson had a couple really nice plays on that final drive where they cashed in for a touchdown to win that. They're a really bad first half team. The rested and ready Green Bay should have a game plan set to attack that Seattle team in the first half. I like the Packers first half, but again, I say it every week. I want nothing to do with betting against second half Russell Wilson. First half only for me with the Green Bay Packers.
First half only with you. Donnie RightSide's already liked the first half with the Chiefs. Now he's liking the first half with the Packers. Again, it's threes across the board here if you want the Packers first half. Jeff Billings says, I love the Seahawks first half and full game and the over. Clint Richardson says Seattle defense is kind of porous. Dexter Rojas says, who's covering Devontae Adams? The answer is nobody. Nico says, Packers have heard it for weeks. Worse this and that. They will be motivated and come out firing. Rob Elias says Seattle about to get smoked. Whale Capper, Seahawks, Packers, you making a move?
Yeah. It's a small play for me in this one, and I noted in your intro you said the Seahawks were underwhelming last week. They've been underwhelming all season. Like, this team continually plays down to their opponents. They could have won some of these games handily, and yet they still kind of always make us sweat it out. Last week I stumped for Seahawks on the money line at plus money. That came through. I also played Seahawks 14-1 to win the NFC, thinking that they had a decent path to get to the Super Bowl. And my idea was they beat the Eagles, and then that 14-1 is a free roll. So that's where I'm at on this game from a side standpoint. I'm just going to let it ride. I see value in Seattle +4 from a line value standpoint. I would have made this game Green Bay -2.5. So if you're going to get me on the other side of a key number, that's terrific. So if you have no exposure at this point in your, in this game, I'm fine taking Seattle +4. Or maybe if you're a live player, maybe you want to wait for, like Donnie said, I think his breakdown was good. Seattle tends to start slow. They're going up against a team coming off a bye that's going to have a great scripted first 15 plays. The likelihood that you see, Green Bay take a 7-0 sort of lead in this one, I think is pretty high. So you may be able to get Seattle at an even better number than 4. At some point in the first half of this game if you're trying to play live, or you may be able to come in on Seattle at halftime and corner the market there, because I think Seattle is still live in this game, even if they are down 3 scores. Even if it's 17-0 at halftime, am I disappointed? Yes. But have I lost hope? No. I still think that Russell Wilson is playing some absolutely magical football at the quarterback position, and that is what you need to win playoff games. And he has got the tools around him. The offensive line, this unit that they have, is just nobody's, and they've been getting dumped on, and they've had poor games this season. But the last couple weeks, they've gone up against absolutely vicious, violent defensive lines in the Niners and the Eagles, and they acquitted themselves, I thought, very, very, very well. And so if you can give Russell Wilson any kind of time, he's going to hit his targets down the field because he throws an absolutely beautiful, perfectly accurate deep ball. And I think you can hurt the Packers that way. DK Metcalf matched up against Kevin King is a disastrous matchup for the Packers. The Packers like to go, dime-heavy packages and give you pretty much whatever you want in the running game. So it won't surprise me at all if at the the recap of this one, if Seattle wins, if the kind of the leading headline story is Marshawn Lynch back from the dead here. Because there's gonna be opportunities to find yardage on the ground here against this Packers unit, and the disrespect thing is noted about the Packers. People have been clowning on this team, even though they've gone 13-3 and gotten the bye. Nobody believes in them. But if you need that extra motivation to get up for a playoff game, like find a different profession. You shouldn't be playing, in the NFL. So it's tough for me to think that they'll be extra motivated for this one. This is a very tough matchup. Seattle is a tough out, and I think even if we get, an A game from Rodgers and an A game from the Packers, it's going to be tough for them to cover the 4 points. So Seattle, let's get this. Let's get this. NFC Championship spot and keep my 14-1 ticket alive. As far as any kind of a pregame play goes, I played the under in this one. I don't feel great about it. It's mostly on the basis of Aaron Rodgers is not lighting up the scoreboard. I think you're going to have to see a healthy dose of Aaron Jones in this one. And as just mentioned, I think there is yardage going to be available on the ground for Seattle. So just on the basis of this likely being a running heavy first half and maybe even a running heavy full game, I think this comes in under 47. The cold weather and the overall intensity and the likelihood of this being a one-score game, I think plays into sort of the what Donnie was mentioning in the last game, where we've seen a lot of coaches playing not to lose, and Pete Carroll is guilty of that as anyone. Like, he's not going to go for the jugular if they're up by 3 or whatever and they're on their opponent's 40, they're going to punt it. They're not going to go for the kill shot. So this does lend itself to points being left on the field, and in general this game coming in under the key number of 47.
Very interesting breakdown. Donnie, let's go back to that Seahawks-Eagles game, because when I was watching it, Donnie, I was like, man, there's going to be a lot of people backing the Packers because of what they've seen from the Seahawks, when there was no reason for Carroll, just like Whale Capper was talking about, no reason for Carroll to push it. It felt like they were never in danger, and there was no way McCown was going to get into the end zone. They were going to try to beat them 3 points at a time, and that wasn't going to happen. And then we have like my guy Farshid Asami saying, did you see Seahawks can't cover? He says here, where is it? Up here, he said Seahawks barely scored against the Eagles, Packers all day. I thought that was going to be a feeling from a lot of cappers, which was going to give us a nice number on the Seahawks. What did you think about how Pete Carroll coached against your Eagles last week? And do you think that sets up in a situation where we're getting a better number than we'd otherwise get?
It's kind of interesting because Whale Capper brings up the same thing. If you push them, they can say, all right, I'll go 40-40 in a game. But if the game is 3-3 at the half, we're more than happy to stay here until we have to make plays. That always plays into it. But looking at last week, somebody brought up a really good thing in the chat, which I've been looking at all week long as well. If Carson Wentz plays in that football game, he can manipulate the pocket, get outside, run, get down. Aaron Rodgers not so much as going to run, but you saw a 40-year-old quarterback, and at the end of the game, even with a hamstring injury, what did he get sacked 6 times? Because Josh McCown can't manipulate the pocket to get that extra second to get your wide receiver open. Aaron Rodgers is a master of that and is going to be able to sidestep pass rushes. He's going to how many times are you going to see in this game where he sees the early flag and throws one of his 40 to 50 yard plays downfield with the Packers specialize in to get another flag, maybe a pass interference? It's going to be fun to watch, but I do think Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to do whatever he wants because Seattle doesn't really have all that great of a pass rush, but shows up last week with a record on the season sack rate because you had a 40-year-old quarterback not ready to come in, no wide receivers, barely any running backs, and a tight end with one kidney.
What an exciting weekend of football we have ahead of us. Official moves. Now, we've heard Donnie talk about what he's very likely to do, but we have no official plays yet, and that being Chiefs first half is one move that Donnie likes. He's waiting to see if he can pop up a 6.5 with the Niners. He's interested in the Packers first half. We have official plays from the Whale Capper, one on each game. Rafa, pop them up on the board so we can get a good look at Whale Capper's action. Whale Capper having a great season, coming off a 3-1 when his ROI is now over. What's way over, let me pull it up, his ROI, because it's a pretty good-looking season Whale Capper's put together. He's now up double-digit units, so his ROI must be very high. And let me pull it up right now. While I'm pulling it up, Donnie RightSide, giant weekend of football. Do you have any last words on this spot? And do you like one play more than any other on this card at this point?
I gotta say, like the Sunday plays right now probably sticking out even more than the Saturday plays, just for some advantageous plays that you can make in the first half. I think Kansas City will be resting and ready. I think Green Bay is going to be resting and ready. Both of those teams, Green Bay and Kansas City, look, sitting at home, prepping, getting ready for this football game. Two really good quarterbacks at home. I think they're going to be able to jump out to leads. And the same thing would go as if Kansas City isn't covering their first half number by the half, or if Green Bay isn't covering their first half number by the half, they're not going to cover full game. So I think if you like either one of these football teams to cover, first half's probably the better way to go in these.
I like it. A lot of food for thought. Jay Peach liking the Vikings plus 6.5 and the under 47 in the Vikings San Francisco spot. Whale Capper now up double-digit units, 10.15 with an plus 8.90 ROI. Whale Capper, is there one look on this board that you like better than the others?
It's just by a little bit. It's that Chiefs under. I really do think that the steam has given us a super favorable price there. But should be a great weekend of football. Hope you guys enjoy it. Support SBR. Click the link. The link right there. This is all important free content for you. It will make you a better handicapper. If you enjoy all of this content for free, support SBR. These guys do an incredible job of helping educate people new to this space, and the fact that they put all of this on for you with ask nothing else other than your support is pretty important to give back to them. So click the link. Let's get going, guys.
Yeah, click the link. It means a lot to us. But we have no show without these great cappers in the chat. Rob Elias, David Stewart, Jay Peach, Moses Saucedo, Farshed Hassami saying, watch out for Texans upset. Oh, by the way, Jay Peach was talking about that Seattle under, the Seahawks under. That was my fault. DeAndre Polk, OG Wham, Wham Bam, Trot Wham in the house. Nick O. Anna Merrick, Dexter Rojas, RB Fern, giving us incredible stats throughout this show. Thank you for all that. It was very, very helpful. Jojo Rich in the house. What a great, great group. Bogey 34. Man, thank you guys so much. We have nothing without you guys. So shout out to all of you. Donnie RightSide, any last words for these great cappers in the chat and those watching from home?
It's a lot of fun this weekend. Thanks for tuning in once again. All season long, we'll roll right through to the Super Bowl. And yes, SBRodds.com. As soon as those lines move, like, you know what I'm watching? SBRodds.com is on my screen, Jimmy. Waiting for the 6.5 to flash for San Francisco. We can party here. But thanks for joining us all week long. And we'll continue to do it next week. After that Super Bowl, what's not to love?
And we will be here every Wednesday. Every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern is our new time slot through the playoffs. Whale Capper, any last words for these great cappers watching from home and those in our chat?
No, thank you guys for participating. It is always so great to join this, be part of this family, and enjoy the weekend, enjoy the great football. Last weekend when we got Saturday and Sunday full day, you can really enjoy this. So have fun, guys.
Man, that an hour went very fast. Donnie RightSide talks about it going fast, but that just flew right by. Let's have a big, big, big weekend. On behalf of Donnie RightSide, Whale Capper, my man Rafa on the ones and twos, everybody here at Sportsbook Review, thank you guys so much for watching, and let's get some cash! Let's get after it. We will see you guys next Wednesday here at 4 p.m. Eastern, hopefully a little richer. See you guys soon.